Chapter 2. Boomtown. On the hillside behind the Josiah Fawcett Elementary School in Hamlet, Vermont, fall was on display. A few last red and orange leaves were still on the trees, and the fields looked brown and bare. Cold weather had come in overnight, so Hamlet parents had rooted in closets for thicker jackets and scarves. The air was rich with the smell of mothballs. Teachers arrived carrying armloads of paperwork and books. Parents waved goodbye at little ones who forgot to wave back. Children ran shrieking happily in the schoolyard as if psycho ex-murderers were after them. It was a normal November morning. Salem Banerjee was amazed to find that his breath was coming out of his mouth in steamy white puffs. "Look," he said to his new friends. "I'm making little ghosts." "Didn't you have winter in Bombay?" asked Sammy Grubb. "Not like this." Salem shivered in his cotton sweater. "This is nothing," said Hector Yellow. "This is just the beginning of winter." "You'll freeze your butt off, indeed," said Salem with interest. But before he could learn more, the school bell rang and the children marched into the building. Salem's teacher, Miss Germaine Earth, was the nicest teacher in the whole school. When Salem had told her he was new in the United States because his family had just moved from India, Miss Earth had smiled warmly. She replied, "Well then, I speak on behalf of more than 250 million Americans when I say, pleased to have you with us." The next day she rode on her Kawasaki 8000 Silver Eagle motorcycle to his house. She delivered a freshly made cake to Salem, his baby sisters, and his parents. The cake said "Welcome to the USA" on it in pink frosting. Salem's mother took a snapshot of it to mail back to Bombay so that everyone there could see it. This morning, Miss Earth was just about to take attendance. Her students were sitting in respectful silence, hands folded on their desks, when a huge boom thundered outside. The glass in the window frames shivered. The Venetian blinds rattled. The two new gerbils, named George and Martha, hid in their wood shavings as if praying for something to save them. "What was that?" Salem was so startled he spoke out loud without raising his hand. Across the aisle, Thekla Mustard shot a disapproving look at him. Her own Hana zoomed into the air like a missile. "Yes, Thekla," said Miss Earth. "Salem just spoke without raising his hand for permission," complained Thekla. "Sometimes that happens, Thekla. Learn to tolerate small surprises in life." "Now, Salem, were you startled by that noise?" Who can tell Salem what it? The children in Miss Earth's class were stuffed with imagination. They loved a question that prodded their minds to work. Each child liked to try to outdo the others. 15 eager hands waved back and forth like the twitching limbs of trees in a November gale. One by one Miss Earth called on her students to hear what their ideas were about that huge noise. Forrest Eugene Mop said, "It was a sonic boom." Nina Bueno said, "It was a thunderclap." Carly Garfunkel said, "An avalanche in Montreal." Hector Yellow said, "A Mack truck on Interstate 89 colliding with a moose." Sade Wren said, "A meteor mashing Montpelier." Fawn Petros said, "A bomb blasting Bennington." Anna Maria Mastrangelo said, "A hippo falling off the Empire State Building." Stanislaus Tomasky said, "A whale with a bad case of the burps." Lois Kennedy III said, "The Statue of Liberty burning her fingers on her lamp and dropping it." Mike St. Michael said, "The Statue of Liberty burning her fingers on her lamp and dropping it on Godzilla." Mosh Cone said, "King Kong stubbing his toe on the World Trade Center." "Very clever, very zesty," said Miss Earth, "though a bit off the mark. Any other ideas?" Sammy Grubb stood up. Because Sammy was chief of the Copycats, a club that all the boys in the class belonged to, it was important to the boys that his answer be the right one. Sammy said, "It's the sound of TNT explosives in the marble quarry up by Old Man Fingerpie's farm." The Copycats grinned in relief, even Salem, the newest member. Thekla Mustard raised her hand for permission to speak. When Miss Earth nodded, Thekla stood and remarked in a clear voice, more precisely, "Dear Miss Earth and fellow students, it's the pressure of airwaves against our 32 eardrums that makes such a noise." Thecla was the empress of the Tattletales Club. All of the girls in the class except one were tattletales. Thecla Mustard believed it was her duty to correct any boy at any time. She liked to reassert the natural superiority of girls. Her loyal club members all grinned at her correct answer. Pearl Hotchkiss was the only child in the class who didn't belong to a club. She was a rogue and a freethinker. She said, "Nobody asked me, but I think it's a ghost." "Oh, Pearl," said Thecla Mustard. "There aren't any such things as ghosts." "There are too," said Sammy Grub. And then the room erupted into a loud discussion. While Miss Earth took attendance, she let the argument rage. When she was through, she rapped her little bell for silence. Her class shut up in the middle of a dozen sentences. "We have a lot to do today," said Miss Earth, "but I confess that I, too, am curious. Why do you think it's a ghost, Pearl?" "Because on Halloween last week," said Pearl Hotchkiss, "when I was trick-or-treating, I thought I saw a ghost coming around the corner of Old Man Fingerpie's farmhouse. The ghost was thick as a boa constrictor and milky white. I was standing there with my bag of candy and the ghost reached down looking for something. It found a couple of peanuts in their shells and the peanuts floated up in the air out of the bag. The ghost didn't actually eat them, just dropped them on the porch." "Maybe it was Old Man Fingerpie," proposed Miss Earth. "That's what I thought, but when I got home one mentioned it to my folks," said Pearl. "They said that Old Man Fingerpie is in Florida until next April. No one stays in his house while he's away." "What did you do?" said Sammy Grub. "I ran like the wind," said Pearl. "And you never told anyone else until now?" said Thecla Mustard scornfully. "I forgot. You know how exciting Halloween was," said Pearl. "Well," said Miss Earth, "this is very interesting, but for safety's sake, I suggest that no one go to Old Man Fingerpie's house until next spring. Just in case. Not that I am sure there are such things as ghosts," she continued. "Of course there are ghosts," cried Sammy Grub. "You really think there are ghosts?" said Miss Earth. "Phantoms? Specters? Poltergeists?" "Yes indeedy, Miss Earth." "Apparitions? Wraiths? Shadies of the night?" "You said it, Miss Earth." "Astral spirits from the great beyond?" "Even beyond that, Miss Earth." Miss Earth bit her knuckle. "Horrors," she murmured. "Exactly," said Sammy Grub, and sat down. His copycat comrades clapped. The Tattletales sat on their hands as if they were afraid their hands might start applauding by themselves. But Thecla Mustard had shot to her feet now. "You mustn't fall victim to Sammy Grub's superstitions. After all, Miss Earth, he's a boy, what does he know about the great beyond? He doesn't even know anything about the great here and now." "I resent that," said Sammy. "I do too. And the great here and now includes ghosts. How many kids believe in ghosts?" All the boys and Pearl Hotchkiss, 7 copycats and 1 independent, raised their hands. 8 votes in all. "That's 8 believers, here and now," said Sammy Grub. "Who doesn't believe in ghosts?" asked Thecla Mustard hotly. All the girls except Pearl Hotchkiss raised their hands. 7 tattletales and an undecided teacher. Miss Earth raised her hand halfway. "See? Boys are superstitious," cried Thecla. "So is Pearl." "Girls are closed-minded," cried Sammy Grub. Except for Pearl. Pearl started to blush. She liked Sammy Grub. That's why, last night, she had taken the path home from the store that led through the woods near his backyard. But she didn't want her crush on him to show, not last night, not today. So she pretended she had to remove her sweater. She sat with her head stuck inside the sweater, which was halfway on and halfway off, until she could feel the blush was gone. Now, said Miss Earth. "How many times have I asked you not to make such broad remarks? It's simply not true that boys are one way and girls are another. We are all individuals, precious and unique." "Miss Earth," snapped Thecla Mustard, "you know how it goes. What are little boys made of? Snips and snails and puppy dog tails, that's what little boys are made of." "And what are little girls made of?" continued Thecla, getting to the good stuff. She fluffed up her hair expectantly. Sugar and spice and everything nice, that's what little girls are made of. Thecla sat down with a satisfied thwomp. Oh please, said Pearl Hotchkiss, rolling her eyes. Let me out of here. What are little girls really like, said Sammy Grubb in a dangerous voice. The untold story. Hector Yellow, who was the most creative boy in the class, leaped up and said, fussing with makeup and hairdos and clothes. Shopping and gossip and soap opera shows. Never believing in real things like ghosts unless they appear right in front of their nose. Them's fighting words, yelled Thecla Mustard. What are little boys really like? Somebody, quick, back me up on this. Anna Maria Mastrangelo lunged to her feet and recited. Monsters and bloodthirsty crazies with knives. Boys like to be scared right out of their lives. Fighting and kicking like half-maddened ninjas. Believing in ghosts. Boys are off of their hinges. I propose, said Thecla Mustard, that believing in ghosts is just plain crazy. It's another proof, as if one were needed, that nothing's dumber than a boy. All in favor, scream with joy. Hip hip, that'll do, said Miss Earth. This has been interesting, but once again my class has divided along the fault lines of boyhood and girlhood. I do not approve. When will you ever learn? We are all individuals, all unique, all precious. She smiled at them. They sat there beaming, each student trying to look more precious and unique than the next. Miss Earth did love them fondly. As she admired them for their youthful zest, she remembered her favorite country and western song, the one sung by the Nashville singer named Petunia Weiner. The song went like this. Blizzards snow, tornadoes blow, ink and toenails come and go. Troubles grow, but even so, girl, here's what you gotta know. Stick with your man. Only sometimes Miss Earth changed the last line to say, stick with your kids. Miss Earth was a good teacher and a warm-hearted woman. However, she couldn't carry a tune to save her life, so it was lucky she hadn't gone into the music business. Happy with her career of molding young lives, she said, now, class, we'll have to continue this discussion of ghosts some other time. Right now the fine art of fractions requires our attention. The class crumbled out of habit as they got out their math books. Outside, the peace of rural Vermont was shattered by another colossal boom. I believe in ghosts, said Salem Banerjee almost under his breath. So do I, said Pearl Hotchkiss. Something took those peanuts from me.